Have you ever wondered why one of the world's tallest skyscrapers, with an incredible design and over 20,000 pieces of glass, is practically empty? That's right, 55 floors and nobody wants to live there. It's hard to believe, but this is the reality of the Shanghai Tower, completed in 2015 in China. Despite being one of the top 3 tallest buildings on the planet, this architectural building has become a symbol of controversy. Some even say it failed. So, how did such an ambitious project end up like this? What went wrong? In today's video, we're getting into the story behind the Shanghai Tower, how it went from a symbol of progress to an almost empty giant. Imagine living in one of the largest cities in the world, Shanghai, home to over 25 million people. Now, you might find it hard to believe, but not too long ago, this area was pretty much overlooked, a quiet, underdeveloped stretch of land. That all got changed in the 1980s. The government saw potential and declared it a special investment zone, igniting a development frenzy. By the 1990s, city planners had a vision, a trio of skyscrapers that would redefine Shanghai's skyline, turning it into a global icon. The first 2 towers, the Shanghai World Financial Center and the Jinmao Tower, rose quickly and became landmarks in their own right. But they were just the beginning. The real star of the show was yet to come, the Shanghai Tower. And this tower wasn't just about height, it was about making a statement. In 2006, the city's government wanted to build the tallest building in all of Asia, over 600 meters tall. But here's the thing, they don't just want any tall building, they want something that fits perfectly with the surrounding skyline, yet stands out like a jewel. So they opened the floor to the world's best architects. The competition is fierce, with 19 different designs in the running. But there's more to this than just good looks. Whoever wants to win has to figure out some pretty daunting challenges. How to build a solid foundation for something this massive, how to make sure it can withstand strong winds, and, of course, how to do all of this without blowing the budget. In the end, it's an American firm called Gensler that rises to the challenge. They come up with a design that checks all the boxes. After a couple of years of planning, in November 2008, construction finally began. But as the team began planning the Shanghai Tower, they hit their first major roadblock. Quite literally, beneath the surface, the ground under Shanghai is soft. Too soft for a structure that would eventually weigh over 850,000 tons. The risk? The tower could sink, tilt, or even worse. And then, just a few months into construction, something happened that shook everyone to their core. A nearby apartment complex collapsed. Why? The foundation couldn't hold up when crews dug out dirt on one side and it piled up on the other, creating a pressure imbalance that was too much for the soil to handle. Luckily, no one was living there at the time, so it didn't make global headlines, but it sent a clear message. If this could happen to an apartment, what would happen if the foundation of the Shanghai Tower failed? This was the moment of truth. The team knew that a failure here wouldn't just make the news, it would be a catastrophe on a global scale. Ji Gong, a geotechnical expert on the project, had a chilling realization. If they didn't get the foundation right, the consequences would be catastrophic. We're talking power failures, sinkholes, and even the sinking of nearby buildings. This wasn't just about building a tall structure, it was about making sure it could stand the test of time without devastating the entire city. So, how did they pull it off? Well, the solution was anything but simple. It started with a genius 3-part plan to make sure the tower was as stable as a rock, literally. First, they spread the weight of the tower across a much wider base, made of reinforced concrete. Think of it like spreading your weight across a thick, sturdy mat instead of standing on a single plank. This way, the soil underneath wouldn't buckle under the massive pressure. But that was just the beginning. Beneath this reinforced base, they drove concrete pylons deep into the ground, about 1,000 of them. These pylons acted like giant stakes, anchoring the tower firmly into the earth. And if that wasn't enough, the engineers decided to go even further. They planned for 5 entire floors of the tower to be underground. This wasn't just for extra space, it was a strategic move to lower the building's center of gravity and ensure it stayed put, no matter what. To make all this happen, the first step was to dig a gigantic pit, 121 meters across and 33 meters deep. They poured the concrete for the foundation in one go, all within 3 days. Just think about the precision and speed required to pull that off. First, they had to create the core of the building using reinforced concrete. Sounds simple, right? But here's where it gets interesting. The technique they used is called slip forming, a massive steel platform weighing about 1,000 tons, packed with all the machines and tools needed to build each floor. This giant platform would slowly rise, bit by bit, as each floor was completed, and it took a full 6 hours just to move this platform up to the next level. That's a long wait, but when safety and precision are at stake, every minute counts. Now, let's talk about the concrete. This wasn't just any ordinary concrete, they used a special type called self-compacting concrete. Why? Because it's super fluid and easy to work with. This concrete was pumped up through a maze of pipes to the platform, where workers carefully poured it into place. Day by day, floor by floor, they inched their way upward, about one floor every 5 days. Slowly but surely, the skeleton of the tower began to take shape, rising higher and higher until it pierced the skyline of Shanghai. As the months went by, this structure started to outgrow the neighboring towers, climbing higher until June 2014. That's when they placed the crown on top, marking the tower's final height, but they weren't done yet. After reaching the top, they began working on the glass facade that would give the tower its sleek, modern look. And finally, the interior design was completed. By February 2015, this towering giant was ready to welcome the public. The Shanghai Tower, a true giant at 632 meters, or about 2,073 feet. This isn't just any skyscraper, it's the tallest building in China and the second tallest in the world. But there's more to it than just its height. Have you ever noticed how it spirals elegantly as it climbs skyward? That's not just for show. The glass twists a full 120 degrees as it rises, creating an amazing visual effect. But how did they achieve that? The second lies in its core. The designers divided it into 9 sections, each one rotated just a bit from the one below, giving the tower its signature twist. They initially had an even more dramatic whirlpool-like design in mind, but had to tone it down for safety reasons. Now, here's something you probably didn't know. This unique design isn't just for looks. A V-shaped indent called a strike runs up the side of the tower. Combined with the twist, it cuts the impact of strong winds by 25%. That's not just a number, it's a game changer. It saved the project a whopping $58 million in construction costs. This place is spread across 128 floors, all seamlessly connected by 149 elevators. But not just any elevators, 3 of them are the fastest in the world, zipping you around at an incredible 65 kilometers per hour. One of the most incredible features of the tower is a glass facade that wraps around the entire tower. But here's the twist, it's not just a single layer of glass like most buildings. No, the Shanghai Tower takes it up a notch with double paned glass. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but why does that matter? Most skyscrapers use a single layer of glass that's super reflective and opaque, all in the name of reducing heat. But the Shanghai Tower, it's got something better. With 2 layers of glass and a good amount of space between them, this tower creates a natural heat buffer. This means less reliance on power-hungry air conditioning and more natural light flooding into the offices. And inside those buffer zones, the architects have created hanging gardens in the middle of this towering giant. You'll find these green, serene spaces that just breathe life into the building. It's not just about looking good, it's about sustainability. The Shanghai Tower didn't just stop at double-paned glass and gardens. They built wind turbines and even a system to capture and reuse rainwater. All of this innovation earned the tower something special: platinum certification from LEED, making it the tallest building ever to snag that award. But what does that mean for you? It means this building is a leader in sustainability, setting the standard for the future of skyscrapers. Alright, you've probably seen the building and know a bit about its design and construction, but here's the real question that's probably bugging you. Why did it become such a controversial project? Why is it that nobody wants to live there? Let's get into it. Building the Shanghai Tower wasn't cheap. We're talking a whopping $2.4 billion just to get it off the ground. But no biggie, right? The idea was that all this money would be paid back through a flood of businesses moving into these sleek new office spaces. Except that didn't exactly happen. Fast forward to 2017 and things started to reveal. The tower management drops a bombshell. They're struggling to rent out spaces. Why? Because they hadn't secured all the necessary permits from the fire department. Yeah, something as basic as that. So, guess what happened next? The businesses they were counting on stayed away, and even the few that did sign leases, most of them hadn't even moved in yet. It's like paying rent for an office you can't even use. But here's the question: is the Shanghai Tower the success it was supposed to be? Or is it just a $2.4 billion lesson in what happens when grand plans meet harsh realities? Another drawback was its spiral glass facade that looks straight out of a sci-fi movie. It's designed to impress, right? The twisted design created floor space with weird, unusable corners and edges. Companies were hesitant to fork out cash for these odd-shaped areas, and it quickly became a problem. And then there's the LEED Platinum certification. It's like the gold medal of green building. It's impressive, it's eco-friendly, and architects love it. But guess what? All that efficiency comes with a higher price tag. So not only were companies unsure about the space, but now they had to deal with higher rents. Not exactly a winning combination, right? By 2019, things were looking bleak. More than half of the 128 floors were completely empty. And it was painfully obvious at night when the tower was just a dark silhouette against the city lights. If that wasn't enough, the pandemic in 2020 turned things from bad to worse. Water leaks started wreaking havoc from the 9th to the 60th floors, damaging carpets, desks, and electronics. Imagine trying to work in that mess. The building's owner found themselves in a legal battle with the construction companies, trying to get things sorted out. But despite these setbacks, there's a twist to this story. The skyscraper is still home to some major organizations, and many of its 10,000 workers came on board after the initial hiccups. You see, despite the high costs and some setbacks, the Shanghai Tower is a beacon of innovation. It's changing how skyscrapers are built, making them more efficient, safer, and better for the environment. That's right, this building isn't just about looking cool, it's about making a real difference in the world of construction. Thanks for joining me on this journey through one of the most iconic buildings of our time. If you've got any questions or want to learn more about the incredible world of architecture, drop a comment below. And if you enjoyed this tour, make sure to like and subscribe for more amazing content. See you next time.